Okay, so I've gone through a little bit of software install hell. I think part of the problem was that I had a earlier version of Xampp installed, and so I decided to uninstall, first make backups of all of my databases and all my web stuff that I didn't want to lose. Um, then I uninstalled MySQL Administrator, MySQL from the CST258 class, as well as my old version of Xampp. So now I'm going to go back to my downloads folder. We've already installed Chrome. We've already installed Notepad++, and I'm going to do it. And I uninstalled the the version of Xampp that I had just tried to install. So we're going to basically go through this again and see what happens. Oh, okay, interesting. Running may slow down. If you have antivirus, something may slow down or interfere with installation. Please visit the link. So I'm going to say no, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off my antivirus software. So that might be a good thing to do. And let's see. Okay, I'm going to pause, but I'm going to shut off my antivirus software. Okay, as you can see here, my antivirus software appears to be off, so hopefully this will help. Okay, so here we go again. Double click. I want to say yes, just keep going. Because of an activated user account on your system. With UAC, please avoid to install or deactivate. Okay, so I'm installing it somewhere else anyways. Next. I'm going to put it on E again like I tried to before. Let's see what happens. Okay. Looks like that didn't actually delete when I totally removed it. So let's go to E. Yep, so I can just delete this. Okay, so now let's try it. There we go. A little web page pops up again, trying to tell us about other stuff. Don't worry about it. Say next. Okay, now it's going to go through the process of installing everything and take us all the way to the end, and then we'll try the control panel again. So I'm going to pause it while it does this work. Pause the video. Okay, as you can see, the install for my Xampp looks like it's complete. My fingers are crossed, and we'll see if it works. Yes, I want to start the control panel. Okay, the control panel is up. I don't see any red flags here, which is good. I'm going to start the Apache server. That looks good. And this is where we lost it before with MySQL. And we're up and running. So I'm good to go. Now, what I'm hoping is that it was purely a problem with my Xampp and that you should not have to uninstall the MySQL you had on your machine. You do not have to run this Filezilla, Mercury, or Tomcat. You don't need those to make this work. I'm going to stop the MySQL server and stop the Apache server, and I'm going to close out the control panel. I'm going to go start all programs, look at Xampp, open that up, and then you'll see Xampp control panel. and then I'm going to click that. Now, there we go. Now I'm going to bring up a web browser, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in localhost, just the word localhost, and notice this web page is not available. Now I'm going to click Start, and look what happened immediately. Actually, it started right off with the web, and then MySQL. I'm going to start that. So if I type in localhost, now it goes to this Xampp page. This means I have web server software up and running on my computer. I'm going to click here for English, and you'll see this page. Notice here that it says localhost Xampp index PHP. Now this is really important to understand, because this is basically how we're going to be building our websites and everything else from here on out. So I'm going to open up, go to my computer, and if you remember, I installed Xampp on the E drive, so you will probably install it on the C drive. I'm going to go to E. I'm going to locate my Xampp folder, and there'll be a folder here called htdocs. htdocs is where this page lives. So the Xampp server is running on localhost, this index PHP. If I go into here, and you'll see here that there is this server, right, this page right here, index. Matter of fact, what it is this index PHP page redirects to this Xampp page, and goes from there. So I'm going to take this index PHP, and I'm going to rename this to old, and I'm going to rename this index HTML. And actually, instead of old, I don't like old. I want to rename it to ORG. And then I'm going to even rename this index HTML to ORG. Now what I'm going to do, back in my browser, is I'm going to go to localhost. Now notice what happens is when I type in localhost, I see the index.org HTML and index.org PHP. Now what happens is the index.org PHP, if I click on it, it basically is redirecting me to this Xampp folder here. And this HTML page just shows that it works here. So this index.org PHP is redirecting you to the Xampp, which basically there's a lot of important stuff here that we would need and use later on in our class. So everything that we do when we talk about building our website, we're going to go to our C:, or in my case E:, the Xampp folder, and we're going to basically be putting our files in htdocs. I highly recommend that you take index.org HTML, if that exists, and index PHP HTML, and rename this to org here, and we'll be doing some other stuff down the road. But just right now, I have a web server running localhost, and hit enter. Now if I go back to my control panel, and if I stop these two services, and then I try to refresh localhost, it's going to say it's not available. The software for the web server is not running. I click Apache, and it says, hey, I'm running. The web server is up and running, and we can see all the pages and everything needed for this. Now, Xampp, this Xampp folder, is where basically everything important lives. Right here, notice Tools, My PHP Admin. If you click on that, this is right now the MySQL isn't up and running. That's why it's giving me an error. So if I go back, if I click Start from MySQL, and now click My PHP Admin, now you can see this is the administrator that we will be using to do the MySQL work for our class. Okay, so I've got it up and running. The main reason I think I had problems was because I had already installed Xampp and it was conflicting. The MySQL databases were conflicting. I hope you are able to install Xampp and still leave your existing SQL server up and running. I'm going to stop these guys, and we'll be good to go. So if you give me a screenshot of this Xampp and maybe a screenshot of, let's see, start, and give me this screenshot here, this Xampp Windows screenshot, then I know that you've got it up and running. Okay, so that gets us on page 808 and 809, 810, 811. There's some information about configuring my PHP admin. I'm not making any changes to that at this point. We're just going to use the defaults until we need it. And now that's going to put us to page 814, and I'm stopping my servers here. Put it to 814 to now go ahead and install NetBeans. So here we go. Let's see what happens here. I have never installed or done NetBeans before. www.netbeans.org. I think if you don't have Java installed that there's going to be a problem with it. So here's the NetBeans IDE. Click download. NetBeans platform. Let's see. Hang on, I'm going to pause. Okay, so for NetBeans, we need to find the HTML5 and PHP bundle, and right here we're going to click that. This is the NetBeans that we want, is the HTML5 and PHP bundle. So we're going to download that, and it looks like my install is starting, and it looks like I'm going through some stuff right now to get that up and running. Okay, so NetBeans is available for me to install. I'm going to click it. Yes. See what happens. Let's move this guy out of the way. I don't need this guy anymore. Next. Looks like it's going pretty quick. I accept the terms of use. Next. I'm going to move my NetBeans. I'm going to move that also to my E drive. Oops, doesn't like that. I have to keep that. So it looks like I'm better off actually keeping everything to my C drive. I don't want to cause problems because of the Java. You'll notice that I do have Java installed on my SQL program files. If you don't have Java installed, you need to go to, just say download Java and get the most recent version. Sure, I'll take the updates and accept that. And I'm going to pause it while it goes through these hoops. Okay, so it looks like my software is complete, and I'm going to unclick contribute to the NetBeans project. I don't need to be involved with that, so you don't have to have that either. And click finish. And at that point there, the book then talks about installing it and getting once it's been installed, getting it set up, and run the exe file and install the resulting dialog box default location for the PHP initialization file for any. Okay, so what we need to do is, as I take a look at the that I'm going to open up my Notepad++. and I'm going to go File, Open, and I have to go to my E drive because that's where my Xampp is running, and I'm on page 815, and go down to my Xampp. And from Xampp, I got to locate my PHP directory, and there's a file called php-ini. There it is. And open the php-ini file in, so I'm halfway on page 814 in Notepad++. Search for the line of code that says php xdebug DLL. So I'm going to go search, find php _x debug.dll. And there it is down here a little ways. And remove the semicolon at the start of this line. So search for that line of code and remove the semicolon. The semicolon is acting as a temporary as a comment, and remove the semicolon. And now you can see it. For me, it says E:\xampp php extend DLL. Search for the line of code that now. So we've done that for one line of code. The next line of code we have to search for is xdebug dot remote enable. Okay, that's down here a little ways. After you do that, the line should, so here we need to remove the semicolon from that line, and we want to change that from 0 to a 1. And then so we're configuring our Xampp, our PHP in our server to be able to work correctly with NetBeans. So I've saved that, and then it says you can go ahead and restart Apache. Description. For this book, we recommend that you use NetBeans with Xdebug as your primary development tool. I have never done that before, so we'll learn it together. Xdebugger is included as a part of Xampp. However, by the default, the debugger is not enabled. And what we just did was we enabled the debugger for to work with NetBeans. Okay, so now that moves us to page 816, and we need to go to murac.com. So I've saved the php-ini file. By the way, there's a lot of times you'll refer to the php-ini file, and there's a lot of stuff that by default is commented out, but there are times you might need to come to this file to make PHP behave a certain way. So now what I'm going to do is open up here, and I'm going to go to murac.com, www.murach.com, and I need to locate downloads, and I want to locate it for the my PHP book. Let's see where it's PHP second edition, so we want this book here, and then we can go all book files. We want, or then we can get the zip file either way. So I'm going to get the self-extract. Let's see. So it does look like it wants me to put in some information. No, don't send me any offers. I don't want to be bothered. And download. So I'm going to grab the zip file, And here's my downloads. I'm going to take this zip file and move it to my desktop. I'm going to unzip it. It's going to take a minute. Now, I also believe in the file that I put out on Blackboard that you should already have most of these files. But let's see what, again, following the book's directions, let's see what they give us. Now, these aren't going to live on my desktop for a long time. So, book apps, extended solution, next starts. So what it wants us to do, now, it wants us to put these three folders into our web server directory, the htdocs. So this right here is my folder that I just unzipped from the book download. And so I want to keep this available. And now what I want to do is go computer. For you, it's going to be most likely C:, but for me, it's E. I'm going to locate my Xampp directory. I'm going to locate my htdocs, and then basically putting into the htdocs, I'm going to take these three, and I'm going to right-click and drag them over and do a copy. Now, if you notice, remember here's the index.org and index.php.org. Now, those three folders with the files from the book are now available. This is from the zip file, so I'm going to close this. Now what I'm going to do is go Start, All Programs. I'm going to find Xampp, open that up, and I'm going to go to my Xampp control panel. If you want, there's no reason you could go Start, Programs, Xampp, and drag your Xampp and put a shortcut to your control panel up on your desktop. That might make life easier. And I'm going to click Start for my Apache server and Start for my SQL server. Now from here, I'm going to open up my browser. It's already open. And I'm going to type localhost. Localhost, the web server is running. And notice here from Xampp htdocs, the book apps, extended example solutions, example starts, that there are these folders here, book apps, solutions, and starts. So if I click on book apps, I now have all of these. If I click on product discount, here's the page for product discount. And I can calculate it, and you can see the work. So what's happening here is the book is providing us for each chapter a lot of the stuff that we already need to make this happen. And so we will be learning about this, but you should be able to, with your server up and running, click around and look at these various scripts by chapter. So this is really important that you've gone to Murach.com, you've clicked on the downloads link, PHP MySQL 2nd edition, you've downloaded the zip file, you've unzipped it, and then you've taken the book apps, EX solutions, EX starts, and you put them into the htdocs directory. That is key to making forward progress for this class. The next thing you need to do is to install and create the databases. And so to do that, we have a SQL script. So that takes us from page 816 to 817. Now what we need to do is to actually log on to MySQL. So give me a second and we'll get you going there. Okay, so what we need to do now is, you remember from the MySQL database class, is that the book is providing us some scripts to actually create the databases we need. Those SQL scripts, we just put the book apps folder into the htdocs directory. If I go book apps, create DB, you can see that I have some scripts here that I can use to create these databases. So we need to locate those, but we need to do it through the administrator. And we're using a different administrator now. So I'm going to open up I've got my SQL database server running and my Apache server running. I'm going to type localhost, and when I type localhost, I don't have a screen here, and it's not flipping me because I took the index.html and index.php pages and I renamed them to org. And what I did is I'm going to go to Xampp. Now by going into Xampp, you'll see it under Tools, My PHP Admin. So now I'm going to click on My PHP Admin. Now I am in the web-based PHP administrator. And this administrator is available on just about every cPanel, every website you'd ever have. I'm going to click Import. I need to now get that create script. I'm going to go choose file. And for me, I have to go to, most likely for you, you're going to go to your C drive. But I'm going to go to my E drive. I'm going to find my Xampp folder. Double click on that. From my Xampp folder, I'm going to find my htdocs folder, my book apps folder, my create DB folder, and now here's the create script. Click on that and then click open. So now it's located that script, and then we just press go. Been successful. And if I click over here on the refresh, I should have a new database somewhere. Imported successfully. Click on the My. So clicks on the My. There's the guitar, and Guitar Shop 1, Guitar Shop 2. So under My, Guitar Shop 1 and Guitar Shop 2, we have there. Now, what would also be interesting to do at this point would be if you've done an export of your project, or if you wanted to even do an export of the AP or any of the other databases from the previous class, do an import of those databases to PHP admin. So a good heads up for your project would be to now do an import of your final project from the last class into here so that you have it, and you can actually start looking at it and playing with it and start getting used to things. Notice here I click on databases. I see all the databases. I have a place where I can type SQL. This is where I would type my SQL to do my selects, and it's not as powerful as what you just got used to doing, but pretty much everything you need is here. So this should get you started here. Your database is now added. Fix the time zone problem if you need that, and we should be good to go. So, one other thing is we need to install Filezilla. So if you go to google.com, type in Filezilla, click here, download Filezilla. Here, if you're on a Windows machine, you can download this one right there. If you're on a Mac or a Linux, you can download it from here. Filezilla is an FTP client. You will not be running a Filezilla server, even though the control panel, you may have seen here, Filezilla. If you were to run this would allow people from the outside to put files onto your computer locally. We don't need to do that. We just need this Filezilla client. Click on it, install it. It's self-explanatory to be able to then log in right here for Windows. And then you'll be able to get it. I already have Filezilla installed, And so when I click Filezilla and open it up, what happens here is there's two sides of the screen. So, for instance, let's see, box. This side of the screen here is your local computer. This side of the screen here is the remote computer that you will log on to. So when you have a GoDaddy account or whatever, you would log on to that account. We'll be dealing with this later on in the class, but get Filezilla up and running and installed. And don't worry about using it at this point. And I have some videos on that, and we'll be going through that more. So you should now be able to have Xampp running. You should have created your database scripts by using myphpadmin, and you should have enough to get going to get everything installed. So I wish you luck. Please post any questions you have. And I think somebody already jumped the gun. And let's see if I go real quick. And if we go Blackboard, oops, wrong, that's for Quinnipiac. 1, 2, 3, 2, 7, 6. Okay, so going into Blackboard, logging into the class, and if I check the Grade Center, this is for teachers. But I know, I didn't even have this thing posted for a few minutes, and Christopher right here, he's already jumped ahead. He is got the homework assignment C00. He's got everything installed. He took the sheet and did it correctly. So if we take a look here, and if you don't have access to this, but you can see that he's named his file correctly, chapter 0. And what happens is I am then able, by it being in Word, you can see here how he basically has his screenshots that I can see that each and everything is up and running correctly. And you can see right here, this is a Filezilla, and this is the books, it looks like. And so he looks like, and he's got NetBeans, he's figured that out. What I haven't done yet is, let's go here, if I click on Netbeans Ide, so this is the Netbeans Ide to actually use it. I've never done it, and we're going to figure this out. I'm not sure how much we're going to use it, but the book said to, and we'll find out what it wants us to do with it later on. I think it's a good thing to know, and if you do try to use NetBeans, you'll be able to add it to your resume. It's definitely a plus. I'm not worried about my resume at this late day, but getting NetBeans and getting comfortable with using NetBeans is a good thing. Okay, so Chris, congratulations on leading the pack. Okay, I'm ready to call this a day, and tomorrow morning I hope to have chapter 1 all set.